Everything, including you, have a purpose. Everything has a purpose, including you. But the thing is, as humans, we don't necessarily know what that purpose is. When you look at the appliances in your kitchen, all of it has a purpose in accomplishing something that you wanted to do. And the same thing with God. When God created you, when He placed you in your mother's womb, when He knitted you in your mother's womb, there was a purpose for why He did it. And the purpose was to be fulfilled on earth for His glory. But many of us are struggling with what purpose is. We don't know what a purpose is. We don't know what our purpose is. We know the purpose for everything around us, but for us, we don't know. And the fact that we don't know is not our fault, because we're living in a world where everyone is telling you who to be, how to be, and what to be. But here is the thing. In order for you to discover your purpose, the one thing I found to be very important about discovering your purpose, the story of purpose begins with the words, "This is not it." Have you ever said that? This is not it. I remember the first time I thought those words. I said to myself, this is not it. I was working full time, and I was doing the job that I thought I loved. I wanted to be a criminal lawyer, and I was working in the jail, and I was getting everything I needed to do for the job, right? I wasn't a lawyer at the time because I was still working on becoming a lawyer, but I definitely was working in a position where I was assisting the criminals, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a defense attorney, and I was working in a jail, and I was helping the inmates with their legal work. And while I found fulfillment in assisting the inmates, something inside of me kept on saying, this is not it, Sandy. And it wasn't so much about the work, it was about the time. So all the time that I had to spend getting to work, preparing for work, being at work, and getting home, doing all the things that I need to do at home, I felt like I wasn't doing something deep, deep down in my soul. Something my soul wanted to do, and I wasn't accomplishing that. And so when I had my second child, I took a maternity leave. And during that maternity leave, my goal was to, of course, be a stay-at-home mom, be home with my kids, and also explore entrepreneurship. And it was a great experience. And in that experience, I discovered that what I needed to do is to discover who I was and why I was here on this earth. And so for me, my story of purpose began in motherhood. I'm grateful that I have a husband that supports me on this journey. He supported me on my decision, and he continues to support me on the journey. And I know a lot of people don't have that support, so I'm truly grateful for it. But even if you don't have that support, it doesn't mean that it can't happen for you. And in the journey of learning to become an entrepreneur, I also learned who I was in God. And that's the part that was missing. A lot of us are trying to function in this world as someone other than who God created us to be. And you're going to have to take some time to learn who that person is. And the best way to do that is to get into God's word. When I started to take it serious to learn about God's word, I thought I was just reading God's word. But what I discovered is that I was reading a story about myself. I think that the simplest story that I can describe about the story about myself is the story about the prodigal son. And if you're familiar with the story about the prodigal son, you know that the prodigal son left his father's home because he wanted to just be in the world and do his own thing. So he told his father, give me everything that I'm entitled to, all the wealth, all the things that you were going to give to me. Give them to me now, because I want to leave your house, and I want to explore the world, and I want to find out who I am in the world. And so he went out into the world. And he had fun, right? He partied, he, did all the things that he wanted to do, which he couldn't do while he was in his father's house. And then he lost everything. And he found himself sleeping with the pigs. And he was like, this is not it. This situation is not it. I am living with pigs, and my father has servants that are doing much better than me. And he said, I'm going to go back to my father's house because this is not it. If I have to go back to my father's house, even if I have to become a servant, I will be doing better than how I'm doing right now. He lost everything. He thought that the pleasures of the world would satisfy him. He thought that the pleasures of the world, he would find his purpose. And he was in a worse situation than what he started. Thankfully, he went back to his father's house. And thankfully, his father was more than happy to receive him. As a matter of fact, his father was waiting to receive him. And as he was coming, his father saw him coming, and his father was so happy, so excited. He had a party for him, a celebration for him, gave him the best robes. I mean, they did everything for him. The father was so happy that his son had returned back to his home. And of course, he had his brother who was like, wait a minute, I've been here all this time with you, and this son of yours who wasted everything you had to go party in the world, I've been here sitting here with you, and you have this big celebration for him? Of course, the brother was jealous. He was like, he doesn't deserve this. But that's not how God thinks. And that father in that story reminds me of God, how we were out in the world doing what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And we felt empty, and we felt lost, and we felt abandoned. And that moment you say that this is not it, just like that son, the prodigal son, this is not it. You go back to your father's house and you say, I'm ready. I'm ready to be who you called me to be. I'm ready to be the person you prepared for me to be. You and I are no different. We are similar to the prodigal son. When we say those words, this is not it, it takes us back to who we are in God. And when we discover that version of us, when we discover that person in God, man, life is completely different. That's my story. I discovered a version of me that God created, and I will never go back. And my purpose on TikTok is to share that story and hopefully to help you if you're in a place where you're like, this is not it. By sharing my story, I hope to inspire you to find your story so you can share it too.